Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Side to Side Sportscast, where it's your boys Will and Wudi, and you know we come to break it all down from the court side, the ring side, the sidelines, and for those sports they play outdoors, we outside, we side to side. That's how we ride. And today we riding with a side to side special. We're talking about the Side to Side Fantasy Football League. You got to get down with it. You got to be part of it. It's going to be epic. The first annual fantasy football side-to-side league. Hey, all you got to do is register. We're going to hit you with the registration information on our socials. Depending on how big we get this league, we're trying to keep it to 12-team leagues. We may have one league. We may have two leagues. And, hey, we may even have three. You never know how it's going to go. But regardless, if you win your league, you will win a trophy. More details to come. If you go between the two of us, one of these guys is going to win a trophy, and it's not going to be the guy.
I'm so excited.
It's not going to be the guy with the mismatched greens on.
No, first of all, is this green? I don't know, but
I mean, it's something close to it.
I'll tell you right now, I'm so excited to win the inaugural side-to-side trophy. I mean, I've heard somebody say it before. You know, I'm the heart and soul of side-to-side. There's only the rightful place. I'm gonna get a mantle. I don't have a mantle. It's just plain white walls back here. But I'm gonna get a mantle just so I have a place to put my trophy after I win. After I lay it, the smack it down on 11 candy culos. Okay, we are going to be doing work, Team Wudi and the Wudi organization, the fantasy football organization. I cannot wait for that. And there's a cash prize as well. You know, it's not just a trophy. You know, we're not playing for hardware, right? You also are able to get, you know, something nice for your loved ones. All right. So I know wifey's expecting something nice after I bring home the gold. So I'm excited.
Hey, it's going to be a little bit different. I think Wudi already dropped his team name, the Candy Kulos, because that's exactly what his squad is going to be looking like on a week-to-week basis. You know, when they hit rock bottom. That's exactly what they're gonna be looking like. But hey, it's your chance to win prize money, a trophy, and you can win money every week in this fantasy league. It's going to be LIT. Now, this is a little special for us to talk about. We are going to be doing a segment on the different divisions and the fantasy appeal from the players from that division. And today, we're going to start with one of the most on-fire divisions from last month. We are going to be starting.
I'm hyped. It's hot. It's hot. I'm out here.
That's right. You know what? It is hot out there, and it's the NFC West. We're going to be talking about the NFC West, and let's talk about, Wudi, some fantasy appeal from the players in this division. I'll just go ahead and get us started off with one of the more notorious names who lit fantasy football up last year. He had a career year. He was the number one wide receiver up and down fantasy charts throughout the season last year. We are talking about no one other than Cooper, his cup runneth over. Had 145 receptions, just shy of 2,000 yards, and 16 touchdowns. By far, one of the most productive fantasy players in the league. So, Wudi, I just got to know, that's a big season. Is Cooper Kupp stock up or down this year?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing, and I'm actually going to roll this into one beautiful LA envelope, because the entire LA Rams organization, their stock is up. There is absolutely no differentiation. I'm telling you, everybody, now this is year 2 of Matthew Stafford. His stock couldn't be higher. Cooper Kupp, the number one receiver. Okay, they getting breakfast together. Their wives are best friends. They out here chilling, doing their thing. His stock, I expect to have a similar, as long as he's healthy, a similar season from him. Allen Robinson, who's had to make Blake Bortles, relevant for a couple of years. His stock is up. Cam Akers, okay, because these boys are going to be playing with leads. Cam Akers, his stock is up. And that defense, the defense's stock is up, all right? Just the entire LA Rams organization. If there was a way to draft coaches, Sean McVay's stock would be, I'm telling you, this organization is on the rise. Everybody is a viable fantasy option. I am buying the entire LA Rams organization.
Wow. You know what? You're going with everybody's stock is up. You know what? On the contrary, I'll tell you this. I think that in the sense that Cooper Kupp will probably be the first wide receiver drafted this year compared to where he was drafted last year, his stock is up. But if you're just talking about where the season ended off and where the season is going to end this year, I don't know if Cooper Kupp can put up those types of numbers for a second straight season. That might have been his best year. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have a bad year. But the addition of Allen Robinson, I'll tell you what, Allen Robinson's stock is up. This might be the first time Allen Robinson had a good quarterback and has been in a good offense. This might be the first time. And we are going to see something special. I agree. Matt Stafford's stock is up because he's got more weapons right now. Cam Akers' stock is up because he missed some weeks last year, came back, solidified himself as the RB1. Henderson Jr., you can stay on the sidelines. Your stock is down. Cam Akers, this is your job. You are the de facto RB1 in LA. And with those weapons on the outside and Van Jefferson on the inside, Cam Akers' stock is up. So I'm going Stafford stock up, Akers stock up, Cooper's slightly down only because he did so good last year. And Allen Robinson's stock is way up. On the defensive side of the ball, I want to say the stock is a little bit neutral. You still got the
neutral.
Weapons. I mean, in the middle. It's like
they're about to play the Seahawks twice again. The Niners got Trey Lance. Who knows what's good over there? All right, he's good for a couple picks. I'm telling you, the stock is up. Bobby Wagner. What are you talking about? The
addition of Bobby Wagner is significant. You know what? The addition of Bobby Wagner is significant. But I'm still going neutral. I don't know, man. I mean,
so I guess it's not significant.
He wasn't there the whole year, but he was actually the addition of Bobby Wagner pretty much replaces Von Miller, in my opinion. But Von Miller, once he got rolling, man, that became a championship defense. But hey, I was still, if my team defensive special teams was the Rams, I'm not mad. Let's go to another one of these teams in the NFC West. How about we go to my favorite state, Arizona, and let's talk about them Cardinals. Wudi, tell us how you see it.
All right. Well, I only got one person stock being up in this organization right now, and that's Hollywood Brown. Okay. He was, I was ready to write him, some threats. All right. Because he was dropping touchdowns, literally in the end zone touchdowns, just fall through his hands, just making everybody disappointed. But in his defense, he was still working with, Lamar. Lamar was still, getting his deep ball touch. Kyler is one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL. All right. He will be the wide receiver one for the first few weeks of the season while DeAndre's out. So he might actually end up being one of the best value picks. Because I don't know how many people are looking to get Hollywood, in the third round, which I'm not saying to do, but I am saying if he's there in the 6th, he's there in the 7th, he will give you great production early in the year. And then when Hop comes back, he'll still be viable because as we know from Christian Kirk, Kyler can spread the ball around. He's always looking for that deep ball. So while, Hop is going to get his targets, we know there are plenty of mouths to feed in Arizona. So he is far and ahead my top, stock riser. In terms of stock falling, James Conner, get out of here. All right. He had a great year of touchdowns. Most people don't repeat touchdown production. You're talking about Cooper Kupp. Can he replicate, what he was doing? And he also had great touchdown production, but, he's getting targets. I'm expecting him to get similar targets. For James Conner, I'm not sure if I'm expecting him to replicate that touchdown success. That is something that is very rarely done in this league, is, to be one of those leaders, back to back. I think Aaron Jones is really the only person that comes to mind as a repeat performer. And then Zach Ertz. There used to be a time where Zach Ertz was top 5 fantasy tight end across the board. Now, he had a contract dispute. He's had injuries. He's had a couple of different things. But now, honestly, I might leave him on the waiver, man. Like, now they got Trey McBride. All right. McBride is sure to eat some targets. I know he's hungry, right? That was probably the best tight end coming out the draft. And, Ertz, I think he's lost a couple steps, if we're being honest. So, Ertz, his stock is down. Brown's stock is up. Connor's stock is down. And Kyler is as neutral as they come. Still going to give rushing production and passing production. I don't think, we're in for anything, abnormal from Kyler Murray.
You see, Kyler Murray's stock is absolutely down. And last year, heading into the season, his stock was up. You got a rushing quarterback. He gets out of the pocket. He makes throws. People compared him to like a more productive version of Russell Wilson. But last year, Kyler started off the first few weeks hot. And then, just like every year, my man starts wheezing and falling to the back of the pack. He only finished the year with 24 touchdowns, only 400-plus rushing yards, and they started to give James Conner all of those goal line rushes. This is why his touchdowns went up to 15. They really took the ball out of Kyler Murray's hand, because Kyler Murray, all the wear and tear throughout the season, all the hits on his little body, and all the memes that fly around social media about his tininess, it weighs down on him, and it affects him. So I'm going Kyler's stock is a little bit down. He's a quarterback where he might be a steal if he has a comeback year, but he's not going to be drafted much higher. Connor,
you're disrespecting Kyler Murray. That's all I gotta say about that. I don't even. He's a top 5. He's been top 5 fantasy QB anytime that he has played a full season. Even sometimes when he hasn't played a full season, he was number 2 to Josh Allen. Are you telling me it's down for what? I don't even, just because. What was the reason?
Listen,
he's not going to be better than he was, or the same that he was last year.
Top 5? No, he played
14
games last year. He only played 14 games last year. 14. He missed 3 games.
So what are you saying? You're saying he's going to get hurt. That's what you're saying.
Well, you can't trust his durability. Like once you get injured in a lot of fantasy football leagues, you get listed as, I don't know, man. I don't know. We got to roll the dice on this guy. And roll the dice on him. Yeah, Kyler Murray is one of those guys that you got to roll the dice on. How many games is he going to miss? Is he going to be there in the playoffs? Because he seems to miss games at the end of the year. Well, last year in particular, like his first couple years, he played all through the season. He did pretty good. But last year,
second in the entire NFL in fantasy, pretty good. Yeah. No, that's true. Gotta put some respect on this boy's name.
In the entire NFL in fantasy, Kyler Murray. That's what you're second in the NFL. I don't know. We must be looking at 2 different lists, right? But like I said,
in 2020, Murray,
I'm talking about last season.
You said earlier in his career when he was playing games, right? He was doing all right. But I'm saying when he played a full season, he was
second. I'm thinking you're talking about last season. Yeah, Kyler Murray at the beginning, fantasy, his stock was high. Last year, it went down. It's more the same. What is he going to do? Is he going to play through this contract dispute? Is that going to be resolved by the time the season actually starts? There's a lot of question marks around Kyler Murray right now. And are you willing? Maybe you are, Wudi. That's why I really can't wait to be in your league. Go ahead and put your dollars on it. You go out there and you snatch up Kyler Murray. And, I'll make the safe pick. But Kyler Murray heading into the season, stock is slightly down. James Conner, A lot of running backs don't duplicate their touchdowns, as you said. He had 15 touchdowns. Not sure he'll get nearly a touchdown a week this year. But I can still see in that 10 range, in that double-digit range, based on how they ended the season last year, if they're going to keep that up. DeAndre Hopkins, stock is also low. Can DeAndre stay on the field now? That is a big question. He was playing through injury last year. He might have been the most disappointing fantasy stud that you expect to be a stud, for anybody last year, DeAndre Hopkins. So the Cardinals, the stock is tough there, but Hollywood Brown, like you talked about, new team, new situation. It's going to be a viable target for Kyler Murray right now. And we're going to see how this works. I think he may, Hollywood Brown, his stock may be up. This is Kyler's a little bit more accurate than Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson was pretty good with utilizing Hollywood Brown. So I think that Cliff Kingsbury and the crew, they're going to have some time to feature Hollywood Brown in his offense. And we'll see. We'll see if Kyler can be durable. That's what it is. But Kyler, late in the season, at the beginning of the year, he puts up numbers. But when you need to win your playoff games, Kyler is not putting up numbers anymore. He is gone at the end of the year. So if you just look at the season in totality, oh, yeah, it looks great. He did awesome. But when you look at like later in the season, I don't know. This is where you can take an L. And I think a lot of fantasy fans are aware of it right now. And that's why I'm saying his stock is down. Now, you want to talk about a whole franchise whose stock is down? You want to talk about a whole franchise whose stock is down. With the departure of one player, Seattle might as well be the Supersonics now. They don't even deserve to be in the league. Where have the Seattle Seahawks gone? Wudi, fantasy outlook. Who from Seattle would you even start?
Rashad Penny. I'm starting with confidence, actually.
Okay.
With Chris Carson, he might actually be forced to retire. His neck injury. And they say, as one door closes, another one opens. So Rashad Penny is about to, run through that door. And he's also somebody who can catch passes out the backfield. So with, Geno and some of those noodle arm quarterbacks that they got, they're going to need that outlet. So I feel like Penny is going to be a consistent member of the game plan, no matter what the game script is. And that's actually something that's very valuable in fantasy, or is having players that are immune to game script. I think Rashad Penny has that capability for sure. Let us just take a moment of silence for the fantasy career of Tyler Lockett. Somebody who was just so magnificent. All right, just getting 35 out the blue, 45. 4 TDs and like 200 yards. Like those are actual stats that he's had. That I don't know if he's gonna have that for a season. It's gonna be real tough sledding for Tyler Lockett. DK, you still find him in the red zone. He's still, possession receiver. I think he's still gonna get some looks. I mean, his stock is down too. But Tyler Lockett is dead, RIP. And that is one of my favorite picks in all fantasy. Every year I have at least one team. I like to have all my teams, but at least one of them has Tyler Lockett. That streak ends this year.
Man, we're going to learn a lot, man. We're going to learn a lot because if Tyler Lockett starts to produce with, can we get the lock to Lockett connection? No, only in a real fantasy world. Not your fantasy football team world. This is not going to happen that way. And you never know. Geno Smith may be out there starting. So you don't know, man. And it's going to be 8 in the box for Rashad Penny. But I will tell you this. Rashad Penny, I will say his stock is up, man. He played some, he played what he played like the draft pick that he was brought in to be, towards the end of last year. But now Russell Wilson is gone. You know who I feel bad for? Noah Fant. Noah Fant changes teams but doesn't change quarterbacks. What type of stuff is that? Like Noah Fant he is one of the most physically gifted tight ends in the league. He is a guy that I was expecting year 3 production is going to be off the charts, especially if he was still in Denver. But guess what? He's not in Denver. He's in Seattle, and he's got either Geno Smith, I say it with an F, or Drew Lock, throwing him the football. What is really going on here? I don't know, but I'm going to say Noah Fant. A tight end is a bad quarterback's best friend is normally what I would say, but we've already seen how he plays with his bad quarterback. So if Drew Lock is out there, you can't even say that this might be what he needed. It is an absolute shame. The Seahawks are playing for a draft pick this year for sure. I'm not touching anyone on their offense unless it's late and a very valued pick. Everybody's stock is down. Seattle's stock is down. Seattle.
You just said Penny's was up. Is Penny the exception, or are you changing your mind? Penny's down.
Considering he may be the only, I'm not going to say his stock is high, so it's up. But this is going to be
that's the question. Up, down. It's not high, low. It's not high, low.
No, that's true. That's true. So I'll say his stock is a little bit up. If you had to trust anybody from their offense, I would trust him. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to be like it was like when he went on that tear last year. This offense is going to struggle to score 14 to 20 points a game. They're going to struggle. Like, they're going to get behind on the score. Wait, let me retract. Rashard Penny's stock is down from last year. He played really good at the end of last year, but the more I speak this out, the more I realize, no, this team is going to be getting cooked. They're not going to be able to.
And yet the Rams defense faces them twice, and their stock is not up. Having this garbage team on the schedule twice.
Well, hey, don't sleep on those division games. Listen, there's something about the division. It doesn't matter who's out there. Division games are fantasy football nightmares for certain people. The Rams could easily wax them one game, but it's going to be a tough game in there for sure. But their defense and special teams, I wouldn't even touch it. I mean, Wudi, have you looked at their depth chart? The
Rams depth chart?
The Seahawks defensive depth chart.
No. My, I cannot. No, stop that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to look at it. It's atrocious. It's atrocious. You got Jamal Adams is pretty much the best player on their entire defense now. They've really got no front line. Linebackers are questionable. This team, Seattle, trash. I don't even think they're worth talking about anymore. Let's go to a team that is pretty iffy with it.
Yeah.
The San Francisco 49ers.
Well, I'm going to take a sentence that you actually just said before, and it didn't apply. I agree with the sentence. I agree that it didn't apply with Noah Fant, but I do think it applies with George Kittle. His stock, health. Health is always his thing. Is he going to be healthy this year? I don't know. He wasn't healthy last year. It's actually been a little bit of time since he's been healthy. But if he is healthy, I'm expecting Trey Lance to look for him early and often. So his stock, I don't even want to say it's up. I'm going to have to say it's neutral. It is neutral, all right, because the injuries outweigh the potential of targets. But if he's healthy, he's probably going to be TE1, like over Travis Kelce, which is saying something. Debo, is he going to get a contract? Who knows? I feel like regardless, contract or not, his usage is probably going to be down. I just don't feel comfortable with the concept or the thought of Kyle Shanahan relying on Debo as that, every down, to Swiss Army knife, right? Especially, going into contract talks, running people into the ground. I don't know with the, potential injury. I just feel like Debo stock, you kind of like what you were saying with Cooper Kupp, where, last year was just so magical. Can you replicate that? I'm going to go with no. But his teammate, Ayuk, I think his stock is higher. All right. So I feel like the entire Niners organization, to Will Gaddy's point, is super iffy. I think every other player, can be stock up, stock down. With the running backs, I don't even bother learning their names because when one goes down, the other one comes in and has the exact same production. Yeah. So it literally does not matter. So just grab one. Grab the RB1. All right. When he goes down, grab the RB2. You should probably just have the RB3 on your roster just in case, because out the blue, Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to get 20 points. And then leaves their quarterback, Trey Lance, the iffiest of this iffy organization. I think Trey Lance has the potential to be the 2022 version of Jalen Hurts, who did not have great passing numbers, but Jalen led the NFL in QB rushing touchdowns. All right, he's a rushing threat. He also led the league in rushing yards for a QB. He is a dual threat. And with Trey Lance, I'm not expecting him to throw for 4,000 yards or for 30 TDs or anything of that nature. I don't even know if he'll have a 60% completion percentage, but he is a dual threat. He will run around. And, I think, as a flyer, I'm talking about last round. I mean, there are worse picks you can make than Trey Lance, because that is somebody who, if he does get going and starts using his feet, could be that Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts ended the year last year on nobody's waiver wire in fantasy, right? Because everybody needed that dual threat. So Trey could be that guy.
Hey, you know what? You pretty much nailed it on all fronts. George Kittle, it's hard to trust him because who's playing quarterback? Trey Lance. Now, I don't mean to disrespect Trey Lance with what I'm about to say, but I'm about to say it anyway. When you play just a handful of games, and I'm exaggerating when I say handful, he hasn't played a lot of college games. And then you come to the NFL, which is next level, and you didn't even play at a major division. You didn't see a lot of talent. Like, the Citadel is one of your most tough teams that you played in college. Delaware, the Fighting Blue Hens. That's who you killed, right? Now you're in the NFL. When you were out there, man, you didn't look ready at all. And you got a whole offseason now. The teams around you, you are a runner. You can run the ball, but you're going to have to learn how to read defense. It's going to be a learning curve. And I think the whole offense is going to be set back because of this. But Kyle Shanahan, that man, Kyle Shanahan, he knows how to get the offense. He will figure it out. I do trust him. So I like your comparison to Trey Lance being a Jalen Hurts type of guy. I was actually about to compare him to when Tim Tebow was in Denver. They're going to have to be really creative on offense, doing some things that are definitely not traditional. The running backs, their stock may be up. Elijah Mitchell, I'm going to say he could probably have a big year this year, because one of the things when you have a quarterback that can run and you do the RPO, the ends tend to stay out because the quarterback can take off. So the inside is open, and that's what Elijah Mitchell does. And trust and believe, Kyle Shanahan is going to be eating that up all season long. So I like him as an RB1. I think his stock is up. He surprised everybody last year. I think he's in for a big year. But the thing is, you never know who Kyle Shanahan, like you said, Wudi. He could be like, you know what, we're going to chill with Elijah for a couple weeks. Let's let Wilson Jr. do his thing now. And they still got Trey Sermon in the fold somewhere. You don't know what they're going to do. So it's really hard because he's going to get production out of those running backs. One person who will not be carrying the ball as much as he did last year, I think last year he had almost 60 carries, is Deebo Samuel. He had 8 rushing touchdowns. He will not be rushing. He already said it. As much as you guys use me, you got to pay me. And I ain't come here to be a running back, right? He did what he had to do because he's a tough player. But these business decisions are going to factor into it. So while a lot of people may be looking at Deebo Samuel as like a first-round pick, early second-round pick, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's a baller. Run after the catch. They're going to try to get him some short passes. So I think that's going to be good. But, Trey Lance is definitely a quarterback that I would keep on my bench just in case. Because, hey, you never know. Those running yards and running touchdowns, like Jalen Hurts is getting every goal line rush. I mean, they don't hand it to Miles Sanders. It's Jalen Hurts. And I can see the 49ers doing something similar with Trey Lance just to get his momentum going. That they really invested a lot in getting him. So I can see that. But let's go from the hot division to one of the coldest divisions, but they still be producing, right? Let's go over to the NFC, the AFC North. I'm sorry, the AFC North. And hey, since we're talking about Russian quarterbacks, we got to start off with Lamar Action Jackson. Now, his weapons are not what they used to be. They're absolutely not. But he does get J.K. Dobbins back. He is in a season where he's betting on himself contractually. And Lamar Jackson has had some dynamic years. Rashad Bateman is his second year. I'm going to say Rashad Bateman's stock is up. He played pretty good last year, and now he's pretty much going to be their wide receiver number one. That's him. You got J.K. Dobbins coming back in the fold, and I'm going to say J.K. Dobbins, I mean, obviously his stock is up since he was hurt last year, but his stock was up heading into last year, and I think it's just picking up where it was before he got injured last year. And Lamar Jackson, I honestly believe that this is going to be the number one fantasy quarterback when all is said and done. The number one fantasy quarterback, he's got a couple of years where he has rushed at an elite level. Like an elite level, you don't see this from a lot of quarterbacks. But Lamar Jackson, you've seen it. And this is going to be a year where that happens again. Him and Mark Andrews, they're always on the same page. I think that's going to be, Mark Andrews' stock is up. But I'm going with in Baltimore, the stock is up, baby. The stock is up. The stock is up all around. So
I won't lie. I color-coded my notes. And the Rams, there's nothing but green, right? I was talking about staff, talking about all those guys, nothing but green. The Baltimore Ravens, nothing but green. I think the Ravens, they are out for blood, man. And the AFC North, for them to miss out on the playoffs, they had a pretty decent year. They're up and down. Right, they were losing games they shouldn't have lost, but then they were winning games they shouldn't have won. They were really up and down. But I think you kind of see it. They say a fish stinks from the head down. I think from the head down, we've been seeing just an organizational focus to really put their foot down and say, hey, we run the North. Okay, so I think Lamar Jackson, like Will, you said, the contract year, that's a huge deal, all right? This boy trying to get paid. He sees all his money getting thrown around at all these people that he feels like aren't on his level. This is a former MVP we're talking about. So, I think it's terrifying. J.K. Dobbins, will be doing work. Andrews, I mean, that's target number one. I mean, you want to talk about, I want to say Kittle, Kelsey, and Andrews. And Kyle Pitts. Those are the four tight ends that, really are going to be the number one pass option, receiving options for their quarterbacks. Rashad Bateman will be wide receiver one. So I do believe his stock is up as well. But best believe, Lamar, if he needs, that third down conversion, he's looking at Mark first, right? That's his boy. So I think the stock is up all around. I'm going to go one further and say this new defense with all their additions. Okay, I think the defense, the Browns, there's a lot to be working out there. I know, the division matchups, but that's always what I look at first is, is this, are they going to be able to beat up, their rivals? And I think they have a defense that will potentially be able to do so. Obviously, the Bengals, are a tough team, but I'm thinking the Ravens green all the way. Stock is up, baby.
Hey, that's definitely a defense with the stock is up. And you know what? Let's go a little bit further north. Let's go to Cincinnati, where I'm going with the Bengals. All I see is green as well. And I'm going to start off with your boy, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was actually one of those quarterbacks who was drafted in the very late rounds last year, and in some cases not drafted at all. But he played well. He had some big games and some big performances. He threw for 34 touchdowns, only 14 interceptions, over 4,600 yards. He played in all but one game when they pretty much clinched. And he's coming back, man. He went to the Super Bowl. This guy is a leader. The team follows him. I'm going with an even bigger season. So Joe Burrow's stock is up. And if his stock is up, you can best believe Jamar Chase, who had a rookie season for the ages, 81 receptions, 1,400 yards. He is definitely going to be he's like the flashy, the popular fantasy pick. People want Jamar Chase because they didn't get him last year. So you can expect him to go in like the way too early first round. But still, you got to respect it. But his stock is definitely up. Joe Mixon, now he just had a career year in receptions, and he had a career year in reception yards. Not a stellar year, but a career year. So he gets utilized more than he used to. 3 out of his last 4 seasons, he's over 1,100 yards. You know, he doesn't get you the yards per carry, but who cares about that in fantasy football? This boy runs the football when they ask him to run the football, and he gets his touches and he gets his production. So I'm going to say, why can't he do it again? This is the most productive, youngest offense to be in the NFL in a long time. So I'm actually going to go with, Joe Mixon's stock is also up. Now, defensively, before I go to defense, I didn't even talk about T. Higgins. T. Higgins, solid receiver. I don't know how much more you're going to get out of him, and everybody else is eating at a higher level. So I'm not going to say his stock drops because he's still good, but yeah, I'm going to put maybe a neutral right there. But I wouldn't be surprised if he increased. This offense, they got a line now to protect Joe Burrow. It's a lot of good things to talk about, and I really like their defense. It's very underrated. But you got Jesse Bates, who is one of the best ball hawking safeties in the league. And what do you put in front of a ball hawking safety? An attacking pass rush, and they're solid on the inside of the defensive line and on the edges with Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. They've got linebackers who can fill space. All they really got to do is get Eli Apple out of there, but they drafted who I think is his replacement, and Chidobe Awuzie had a really good year for his first year in Cincy. Listen, you can't go wrong with Cincy's D or the players on their offense. That's at least how I see it. What do you see, Wudi?
Well, the story for me, or the story for them, in my eyes, is that offensive line rebuild. So who does that help? Joe Burrow for sure, right? He's going to get more time. All right. I think he's going to be even more accurate. Joe Burrow, his stock is up. The number one beneficiary, I actually think, is Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon, his stock is sky high. I mean, for the production that he has had, and he's, dealt with injury. He's had a bad line his entire career. Now we got a good one. I think, Mixon and Burrow, sky's the limit. For every single pass catcher, I'm talking Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I put all 3 of them in neutral. I mean, Jamar, he literally just had one of the best seasons like in NFL history. I don't know if he's going to, repeat. I mean, we've seen, Justin Jefferson's having a stellar start of his career. And, Jamar pretty much had a very similar rookie year. Can he repeat that? I don't know. I feel like Joe, he's going to spread the ball around. There's a lot of love to give. So I do think T will be fantasy relevant. I think Jamar will obviously be fantasy relevant. And Boyd, he could be a flex. But I think there's a lot of love to spread around. So I'm not entirely sure if I would say any of those pass catchers are up. Hayden Hurst is irrelevant, so I'm not even going to say anything other than just saying his name. And then the defense, I do really like this defense. And, the game-changing play for a fantasy defense is turnovers, right? So a ball-hawking safety like Jesse Bates, that's a huge coup to have. I think, they probably will be forcing a lot of turnovers. I mean, poor Mitch back there, Jacoby, and their schedule. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. They're facing Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was averaging, among the most turnovers per game, right? I'm telling you right now, it could be brutal. Tua too. Like, I mean, their schedule. I'm high on the Bengals defense. Pass catchers, I'm not sure, but the 2 Joes and the defense, all for it.
Man, and as much as I like the Baltimore Ravens, I do think that when the Ravens and the Bengals play, you don't have to bench the Bengals defense because it's going to be a tough old school football type of game where the Ravens, they're going to try to run the ball. Like, they're going to try to run the ball unless Lamar Jackson has suddenly turned into Peyton Manning in the offseason. But we don't think that has happened. They're going to try to run the ball. So it's Bengals defense way up. Good points there. Now, how about we just instead of staying in the state of Ohio, we'll save them for last. Let's go to Pittsburgh and let's talk about these Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, when you want to talk about stock, Ben Roethlisberger was bad. I mean, fantasy wise, he was bad. In the games, he was a leader. He would get that first down, but we're not talking about all that. We're talking about fantasy. Mitch Trubisky comes in, and this guy had a lot of praise for how he handled himself in Buffalo as the backup. He has actually proven himself to be a leader. He is another quarterback that I say when you don't play a lot of college football and you go to the NFL, you may struggle. He only started that one season at North Carolina, got thrown into Chicago, wasn't ready for it. Had a couple seasons to really sit on the sideline, really see the game from a different vantage point. I think he's going to have a pretty good year. Mitch Trubisky should not be drafted like high in any quarter. Like he should be undrafted, but if you stash him at the end of the league, he might be a guy that can put up some production because he'll run the ball too. Now, speaking of run the ball, Najee Harris, he had an amazing rookie year because in a PPR league, he has 74 receptions. Now, he only had 467 yards, so these little catches weren't really going anywhere. But, hey, he's catching a rock. He's getting points. He can be targeted in the receiving game. I wouldn't be surprised if his yards increased. I don't know. Maybe he'll get utilized a little bit differently since they have another quarterback in there. He rushed for 1,200 yards in his rookie year, and all they could do is run. I really like Najee Harris. I think his stock is up. Chase Claypool, I don't know. I got to pump the brakes a little bit on Chase Claypool, not just because he's calling himself one of the top 3 to 5 receivers in the league. Like, come on, bro. Are you serious? You may not even be the top 2. Well, you are a top 2, but you may not even be the best receiver on your team. You may not be the best receiver on your team. Deontay Johnson owns that. And I don't know about Chase Claypool. Since his rookie year when he had that big splash, we really haven't seen the Chase Claypool that everybody was rushing to pick up off the wire. And one guy whose stock that I believe is definitely up, we're going with Pat Freiermuth. Pat is definitely this year, he's going to be Mitch Trubisky's best friend. He was a rookie last year. It wasn't a bad rookie season, but he's got the rookie season under his belt. He's going to be on the field a lot. He's going to be trusted more in the passing game. He has 7 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns. And he only started 9 games. I think this year they cut him loose a little bit more. And, he's a tight end that I think is a very deep sleeper. When everybody goes for those top guys, the guys that you named, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, and who's the other guy you named, Wudi? Mark Andrews. Yeah, right in the same division. Those guys are going to go off the board first, and rightfully so. But if you're looking for that guy that you can put on your team and feel good about, I'm going with Pat Freiermuth.
The Steelers, they used to be like one of the most lit franchises for fantasy, right? Imagine having Ben, Le'Veon, and AB, that's like a championship. That's literally fantasy championship every time you can make that happen. But now I hate them. I hate everybody. Najee, yes. I mean, he's bell cow, right? Like you were saying with the receptions, I do expect the yardage to go up as well. Najee, I don't care who's throwing. I don't even care if they stack the box. Najee, I feel like he's, one of the highest floor players in the entire league for fantasy. The quarterback, I'm thinking Mitch is starting. Whoever it is starting, I'm not drafting him. I would never draft. I don't care. I can't draft him. I will agree that Mitch is probably better than like the 32nd best QB, whoever that is. Like he's probably in that like 25-ish range. But still, I still wouldn't draft him. I mean, you're better off. Even like, his successor, Justin Fields, might give you a better fantasy production again with the mobility. But Mitch can run himself actually. So let me not even disrespect Mitch like that. But I'm still wouldn't draft him. For the pass catchers, they are also just all completely neutral. I mean, Chase Claypool is definitely not top 3 in the league. Is not even my pick for top 3 in the division. And then we talked about his team. Yeah, he's not top 1 on the team. Deontay Johnson, maybe right. I'm not going to trust him. I'm not going to draft him high and start him with confidence. When there are a lot of different options, and Pickens is a rookie, can't really do that. Pat Fryermuth, that's actually an interesting one. I didn't even write his name because that's how much I felt he was relevant. But that's a pretty good, point, a pretty good sleeper, and he does right. He's catching touchdowns. That's a prolific prolific scorer. But again, I get nervous, right, with that regression. Oh my God, I'll never forget the year that people were legitimately drafting Eric Ebron in the top 3 rounds because the year before he tied for the NFL lead in touchdown receptions. And we all know how that turned out, So with Fryermuth, there are definitely worse options at tight end. That's a fact. Noah Fant, that's one. I think in terms of sleeper tight ends, we're about to talk about one.
Are we about to talk about one? Well, listen, before we go to Cleveland, right, the land, I just want to put out a name for everybody. George Pickens from Georgia, wide receiver, who's on the Steelers. He definitely has that Antonio Brown type of character. He's cut from a different cloth. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He's got some baggage, right? He could turn into a diva. This boy is talented. And I don't know why. I kind of feel like he could become what Martavis Bryant was in Pittsburgh. So keep an eye out for George Pickens. He doesn't have stock because he's a rookie, but keep an eye out for him. That's one name, a player that really interests me. Now let's go to Cleveland. Deshaun Watson, obviously his stock is down. I think that's inarguable. Don't even need to really talk about it. Who knows when he's going to be able to play? If he's going to be able to play, there's a lot of questions there.
I would argue it, but we don't have to argue it.
Oh, okay. You can. No, please do. Bring it, man.
Last year he didn't play. And now, now you can say, this year he's not going to play. But,
valid. No, I said valid. Valid. Yeah. Very valid. Very valid. Very valid. It's hard for your stock to be down when you played 0 games last year. So very valid, right? But this is not a good situation for the Browns because Jacoby Brissett is going to be out there. And, he's passing Amari Cooper the ball. Now is I don't know. Amari Cooper did wonders with Dak. They seem to mesh really well. So, I mean, we're about to find out. Was it Dak? Was it Amari? Do they need each other? Like, who's going to survive from here? Like, is Amari going to make, Jacoby Brissett a very good quarterback? Or is Amari going to go back to being the Amari we saw in Oakland where he just wasn't really getting it? I'm going to say Amari Cooper's stock is a little bit down with the absence of Deshaun Watson. A player that is really hard for me to read on because he is honestly my favorite running back in the NFL. That's Nick Chubb. But I can't put his stock up, and I honestly can't put his stock down. He is what he is. He's never going to get a lot of carries. He's not going to get not a lot of carries. He's never going to get a lot of receptions. That's not what he does. He runs the ball in between the tackles. But he might be one of the only running backs, to start his career off averaging over 5 yards a carry for basically 4 straight seasons. Nick Chubb he's productive. I mean, you want to talk about carries? His carries, since his second season where he almost had 300 carries, he still gets carries, even though he shares the backfield. But rushing wise, he's going to be doing a lot of running, and you can trust him. I don't know if he's going to get double-digit touchdowns. He's usually between 8 and 12. Like, that's really what he's at. Literally, in 4 of his seasons, he's had 12 touchdowns once, 8 touchdowns 3 times. So I'm just saying, it's like Nick Chubb is what he is. But, could he have a breakout year? I don't know. His stock to me is a little neutral. There's a reason he doesn't get drafted in the first round, because nobody ever passes him the ball. They don't pass him the ball at all. That's just not what they do. But other than that, man, you were talking about tight end. I'm going to save my commentary on their tight ends because I want to hear what you were about to say.
All right. Well, I'll say it after I address Nick Chubb. You didn't know whether to put him up, put him down. Well, let me help you out there. His stock is up, okay? Just like his teammate, his backfield mate, Kareem Hunt. Those boys, Stefanski, we already know Stefanski's game plan. It doesn't matter, right? Baker had a torn labrum, did not change the game plan. Jacoby Brissett, this is not going to change the game plan, all right? It's just going to be a lot of runs, all right? Like you said, Nick Chubb, between the tackles, very, very productive runner. Kareem Hunt, all right, catching short yardage. I think, just like, what's been happening, Hunt takes some of those goal line carries. They both have productive fantasy value literally every single week. Now, Hunt is more the sexier pick because he does get receptions. So the perception is that his floor is higher. But to be honest, they run the ball. They're going to run the ball a certain amount of times per week. I think Chubb's floor is actually higher. Either way, both have high floors. Both are going to be used early and often for the whole season. Assuming health, both of their stocks sky high. Amari Cooper, the exact opposite. Couldn't be lower. Literally, it's as low as it's been since, like you said, with the Raiders. It's kind of unfair, right? Because, Dak, yeah, he lost Amari, but, he has CD. For Amari, he lost Dak. He got Jacoby. We'll see. If Deshaun comes back, which is actually something that I do think Deshaun Watson is playing football games this year. I think just like kind of how you were saying with Kyler, right? Start hot. Where is he in the playoffs? I feel like Deshaun Watson is going to win so many people a fantasy championship just by coming in there in the end and making that, playoff push for the Browns. And, it's really going to be a fantasy playoff push as well. So I think Amari, you can't draft him to be your top receiver because he's not going to give you that production. But if you could somehow, some way manage to have him be more of a flex or, a wide receiver 3, somehow, like get 2 receivers, on top of that, then for the playoffs, you will be cooking. But his stock is down. His stock for sure is down. Which leaves me to David Njoku. Now, Njoku, all right, super duper athletic tight end. All right, he didn't really have everything together, and I think they got Austin Hooper so that they can run, those 2 tight end sets, right? And that didn't really utilize Njoku to his abilities. So they were like, you know what? Let's fix all this, all right? They got rid of Hooper. They gave Njoku his extension. I think we're about to see a player that's motivated. And what did we say before that didn't apply to Noah Fant but applied to George Kittle? That's now applying right now. Bad QBs. They rely on their tight ends. So I feel like Jacoby's going to be hitting them. And Deshaun likes his tight ends too, all right? You don't have to be bad, right? Is Patrick Mahomes bad? No, all right? Sometimes you just have that vibe. And I think Deshaun is going to like his catch radius because it's huge, okay? And his speed. I think David Njoku is going to be one of your best bang-for-your-buck tight ends in the entire NFL because no one's thinking about him. No one's talking about him, but he will produce. No matter who his quarterback is, I believe he will produce. He is your safest pass catcher other than, I guess, Kareem Hunt.
It's just they gave him money, and it's weird to me. I don't know what it is about David Njoku. I want to see him take off, like, the guy that we kind of expected to come out of the University of Miami. But they still got Harrison Bryant out there. Not only do they still have Harrison Bryant out there, I don't think they have Austin Hooper anymore.
They don't.
No, they don't. They don't have him. But listen, Harrison Bryant is a baller, and I don't think either. Like last year, like the last couple years, their tight end room was pretty cluttered. You didn't get much from Joku last year. You got, he started to come on a little bit. They gave him a contract, but I'm just not sleeping on Harrison Bryant. But I will say this: I think Joku's stock is up. They paid him money. They're gonna try to utilize him. Like they're gonna actually, from a business standpoint, make an effort to utilize him more to justify the dollars that they gave him. It's not bank shattering dollars, but nonetheless, it still is dollars. So I will say his stock is up. He might be a good bang for your buck. He's a very interesting tight end. But if your fantasy plan is to wait on tight end because you can get David Njoku, I don't know, the rest of your roster better be stacked because I wouldn't roll the dice on that. Nope. I wouldn't do that at all, yo. I would not do that. But hey, Wudi, great talk, man, with these stock up, stock downs, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bring more division coverage, talk about whose stock is hot, whose stock is not. We'll be back at it next week doing the same thing. But what we would love to do is have you come side to side with your boys to call it how you see it, call it how you saw it, call out those who didn't see it how you saw it. Let us know whose stock is up and what's trending in the fantasy football world. We want to hear you as we prepare for our favorite time of the year, fantasy football. In the meantime, register for that league. Until we see you, we out.